You either have faith that this all happened out of nothing, or you have faith that there is a grand designer named God, and everything in between, all of it requires faith. So I guess I'm just saying, let's not get wrapped up in whether we have faith or not, because you do. You have faith in a lot of things that you don't see, touch, or feel. So what's the actual problem then? Hey, I'm Andy George, the senior pastor here at Crossroads Fellowship in the Raleigh, Wake Forest area, North Carolina, and been here at this church for over 21 years and been in full-time ministry for more than 30 years. And there's a question that comes up pretty regularly that is a very interesting conversation. And it typically revolves around faith versus facts, if I could word it that way. Can I believe in something I don't see? Do I need evidence that there's a God? Can I believe in both? Where does faith and facts factor into all that we're doing? You know, and being a Christian and being a pastor, of course, I've heard things like, well, faith is just blind leading the blind, and faith is just something for weak people that don't have any answers, or it makes no sense at all, and how can you believe in something you can't see, and et cetera. I mean, those are all fair things that we probably all wrestled with as well. And even being a pastor, faith is like the core of all that we do. And there are plenty of times where your faith is rocked a little bit, or you're just wishing you could feel and touch and see. But I wonder if they can both exist at the same time. I wonder, where does the faith and where does the facts come into play together? How do we live in this tension? Because the tension is real. That's a real tension that we feel and we face. And even sitting in this room, this is a real table. Like, I can feel this table. You can hear when I hit this table. I can set things on it. I trust this table that it's going to do what a table's supposed to do. And I think in our life, we're so programmed that when we see something and we can feel and touch something, we've got more confidence in that thing. And then we have conversations around God and around faith. And that's so hard sometimes, because you may be clicking this video about faith and facts. Maybe you're wondering, like, how do you actually have that faith? Like, how can you believe in something that you don't see or feel or touch?
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Cam. I'm the creative arts pastor here at Crossroads. Real quick, I want to let you know that if you have any further questions, we would love to be a resource to help you find those answers. The link for that is in the description below. Also, we want to remind you to like, comment, and make sure to share this video with anyone that's asking the same questions you're asking. All right, let's get back to the video.
I heard a quote a long time ago, and it's not necessarily a solid answer to this, but it's a well-known question about the wind. And I don't know if it was Billy Graham or somebody back in the day. Basically, was like, you can't see the wind, but you see the effects of the wind. Right? You see the trees moving, you see the water moving, you see things blowing around. But like, I don't see the air in this room right now. Like, I don't see it physically. I can't touch it. Like, I can't touch this. It's just here. I just woke up today, and I didn't even have to think, boy, I hope I can breathe today. I hope there's air in my room today. Like, there's so many things in our life where actually we can't touch it, and we don't even think about it. And yet we also want to question faith. So the air that I breathe, I doubt that any of you today at one point thought, I wish I could see the air, otherwise I don't know if I can breathe. Well, you don't think that. You just breathe. You just breathe. You breathe it in, you breathe it out, and it works. And I think there's a lot of things in our life that possibly fall into that category, but for some reason when it comes to God, we want to dismiss God possibly, or because we can't see him, or reach out and hug him, or shake his hand, or sit like this face to face with him, that we just dismiss, well, then he's not there. Well, even just that theory alone doesn't prove itself out in our everyday life. So why do we wrestle then with faith? Faith and facts often feel like they're pulling in opposite directions, but what if they actually pull in the same direction? Facts are often what we can measure, what we can test, what we can see. And faith is trust in what we don't always see. In fact, just to give a biblical definition of faith, just so we're all kind of working out of the same thing, in Hebrews 11:1, it's kind of the iconic definition of what faith is. It says, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen." So even in that verse, it's like, well, you want me to have assurance of things that I'm hoping for? I kind of get that. I'm hoping for a lot of things. In fact, in your life, I bet you that you put more faith in things that you really think you do, because you have hope. You're hoping for things. So there's not much difference between hope and faith, is there? I mean, there's certainly some minor differences, but when you say, I hope that my life is going to end up well, that's faith. I hope I get this job. I hope I marry somebody. I hope I have a good, happy life. I hope the doctor's report is good. I hope this bad thing that's happening will go away. Are you not also trusting in something that you don't know? Maybe you never thought of it that way. Because when we talk about things hoped for and things unseen, there's a lot of that in your life right now. And you're not questioning it. You're not dismissing it. And for some reason, a lot of people do that with God. And it is hard. Faith is tough. Our whole existence with God is faith. But faith is not wishful thinking. Faith isn't just hoping for hope's sake. It's not a fairy tale dream that we're just looking for one day. It's actually a conviction. And let's be honest, we do wrestle with the unseen, which is normal. It'd probably be not normal not to. It'd probably be more abnormal to be like, no, I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine believing in everything I don't see. No, we wrestle with that. And it's okay to wrestle in that tension, because you might be sitting there wrestling even in your faith, even as you might be watching this as a Christian. Even as a Christian, you're going, yeah, it'd be a lot easier if I could just see God. It'd be a lot easier if he would just talk to me, like verbally talk to me. All the way to maybe you're watching this and you're atheist, and you're like, well, there is no God at all, or there's agnostic. There's something out there, but I'm not going to define who that is. And again, not to be sarcastic and not to diminish your belief, but to some degree, I would say it requires more faith to be atheist than it does to actually believe in God. I would say that a lot of things, it probably requires more faith just to believe that this all happened out of nothing, that it just randomly happened. Man, the faith that you need as an atheist to believe that this randomly happened is probably more faith than I have that there's a God up there who spoke it into existence. So in either way, you have faith. You either have faith that this all happened out of nothing, or you have faith that there is a grand designer named God, and everything in between. All of it requires faith. So I guess I'm just saying, let's not get wrapped up in whether we have faith or not, because you do. You have faith in a lot of things that you don't see, touch, or feel. So what's the actual problem then? What's the problem then? Facts deal with evidence, rightly so. Faith goes a little further. It goes into the world of trust. But I would also argue that there's a lot of evidence in our faith. I think about a guy in the Bible named Thomas. You may have heard of him by the name Doubting Thomas. In fact, our culture has adopted, oh, you're a Doubting Thomas, when you don't really believe anything. But Thomas's conviction was after Jesus' resurrection, he still didn't believe that he was alive. And he didn't believe that Jesus rose from the dead. he even saw Jesus and was like, I still don't believe that you're real. And he's literally standing in front of him. And Jesus had this encounter with him where he told him to reach out and to touch. And in John 20:29, Jesus said to him, have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those that may not have seen and yet believed. In other words, he was telling Thomas, it's real easy for you to believe because you've seen me and you've touched me. But blessed are those who actually have not seen and still believe. So yeah, I think that to some degree, there are facts that matter. And I think from my point of view, I think this, here's the thing. When I look at the universe and I look at creation, that actually is things I can see, touch, and feel. Like I can go outside and I can hug a tree. It'd be weird, but I could do it. I can go climb a tree. I cut my grass. I see nature. I hear animals and birds, and I see people, humans. Look up into the sky and see the universe. The Bible says that all of creation actually screams that there's a God. His fingerprints and DNA are on everything. So when you're looking at, well, I don't have faith because I can't see. Well, you actually do. This universe didn't just happen. There wasn't just an explosion and all of a sudden, billions of years later, there was creation. No, it's too intricately woven. There's the DNA and the fingerprints of God all over this. And I think what God is saying and Jesus is saying to Thomas is, you believe because you can see and feel and touch it, but there's a stronger faith, a stronger belief. So yeah, to some degree, facts matter. It's important to have facts. But faith is about trust and trusting God even when you don't have all the pieces together. So then the question really needs to become, how do these coexist together? How can I have faith in something I can't see, feel, or touch, and also look for the evidence of God in nature and in people and in who we are? And so this is kind of where it gets interesting. Faith and facts are not enemies, by the way. Faith and science are actually not enemies, by the way. I think sometimes we want to polarize and pull those things apart, but I think faith and science are in harmony together in many ways. They actually support each other. You know, the Bible never asks us just to take this random leap into the darkness. Instead, it invites us to see the evidence of God's work around us. In Romans chapter 1:20, it says that for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power, divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that he has made, so they are without excuse. See, creation itself points to the Creator. And so that tension that we feel on faith, I think we get so wrapped up in this small vein or this small isolated conversation around faith, and we're not seeing the literally the picture of creation itself. History points us to Jesus. You can look at Jesus was an actual real person. And so again, if you want to talk facts and data and figures, Jesus was an actual real person. There's so much documentation on the early church and on who Christ was and that there was a crucifixion, all these things. And this is a small piece of that. And so as we think about our faith, I think, let me just say this. I think the reason why most people want to argue faith in something I can't see is because at their core, they just don't want to believe it. And it is hard. We wrestle with it. Even the best of us at times, even in our best versions, we're wrestling with faith at different times. But faith builds upon faith. And in my core of even salvation, just think about that alone. Salvation alone requires so much faith because you're not just trusting God with tomorrow, you're trusting Him with eternity. And again, that I get it. That's a hard sell, if I can, for some people to be like, okay, well, I'm going to trust God with my eternal life, and I'm going to trust Him with salvation. And at the same time, I want to trust Him with today. So again, there's a lot of trust that is built around the concept of faith and facts. And again, I think I would just, again, draw you that you can actually look and believe in both. You can look for faith and have faith in what you don't see. And if you would just take time, you would see the facts are all around us. Faith, yes, goes a little beyond the facts, but it never contradicts them. In fact, real faith is actually strengthened by the evidence that we see. Science shows us kind of the what and the how, but faith reveals the who and the why. And so as we're looking for what is happening and how is this all put together and how does this universe work and what is this and what is this table, these elements, all these things, yeah, science kind of supports that. But there's a who behind all of the what. And I think we get so fixated on what and how that we forget the who and the why. There's a creator behind all of what you see and how this world works, including yourself. That means that you don't have to choose, in other words. You don't have to choose between the two. You don't have to fight between the two. Both of those are together. Faith and facts can actually work hand in hand, and faith points us to the truth. Facts point us to the truth. Faith helps us step into the truth. And I think that's a good way to wrestle around this. So you may be struggling with faith in general, or with your faith, or if God is actually out there. And I think I would just challenge you today, maybe today, push pause on that question, and maybe just go outside and look. I think that God reveals himself to us in a lot of ways. And by the way, if looking at nature or the universe or whatever doesn't help your faith, how about just looking at yourself? You are one of a kind, so incredibly unique. You are something that is physical. You can reach out and touch another human. You can grab a hold of your own hand. There's nobody else like you. Faith says that God created you, that he created you in his image, that you are special, that he knows everything about you. The facts are you are alive and here, and there's nobody else with your DNA, with your exact coding, with your wiring. You are unique out of the billions and billions and billions of people in this world. So yeah, we need to have faith. And yes, faith is things we're hoped for. And faith is stepping into the unknown. But let's not isolate faith and facts as enemies. Instead, maybe embrace and walk with them. And I would just challenge you, maybe ask God to reveal himself to you. Instead of just dismissing faith completely, or instead of trying to disprove God through science and facts, would you be bold enough just to simply say, God, would you show yourself to me? And just see what he does.